Hello, hello, hello. I would like to welcome you to day 2 of the Emerging Mothers Evolution Masterclass. Listen, I have a host of information to share with you on today. So I am excited that you are here, and a lot of the information that I have to share with you today has to do with the mindset and mindset shifting. So I'm so excited that you're here. The title of our masterclass on today is 6 Mindset Shifts to Make Before Your Teen Transitions Out of the Home. And listen, although we're going to be talking about our interactions with, of course, our teens and that mindset shift, really it can apply to even other family members as well. So know that some of these principles shared on today can be shared with other family members. And what I like to do is I'd like to just go ahead and jump in because when that teen transitions out of the home, I want to confirm for you that homesickness, more than not, it does take place. It will occur. And guess what? It's normal. The loneliness will exist, and typically it's around the second month while they're in school, while they're on the college campus, that the homesickness may subside. That has been my experience as I speak with other college teens. That is what they're sharing with me, that it's around that second month that homesickness begins to dwindle. And guess what? And for some, it never goes away. And some may end up coming back home. Some are not necessarily pursuing their academics any longer. They may be just hanging out on the college campus, etc. But more than not, many are successful by the thousands, and the homesickness subsides. That's what typically happens. And then also, mothers, when that drop-off takes place, you drive them to school, and you come back home, it's interesting because you begin to feel all types of emotions that you had no idea was even there. And sometimes you could find yourself looking at or thinking about or hearing just the smallest things that may make you remember or may take you into an experience that you had with your teen, the teen who has left and transitioned out. And so sometimes you might even find yourself weeping, at maybe the weirdest times, because you thought about them and because you missed them. Those are some of the emotions, those are some of the actions, those are some of the behaviors that could take place after your teen has transitioned out of the home. And guess what? All of those are normal. I just had to stick a pin in there for just a bit. That is normal. What I found that I did, the next morning I found that I had gone to church and I was talking to women in the hallway whose teens had already transitioned out years before myself, and realized that they still had certain feelings about that occurrence taking place. And so just wanted you to know that that's normal. These are some of the things that happen. The homesickness, maybe the weeping, also, thinking about, and missing your teen. Those things are normal, and those things can take place for sure. So to jump right in and to talk about some of 6 of the mindset shifts that you'll want to make prior to your teen transitioning out of the home. First and foremost, I am going to encourage you to evaluate that inner voice. And who is it that you're listening to? Even without our teens transitioning out of the home, and I'm unable to say you because it's also me as well. Here it is, my 3 daughters are back home right now. 2 will be heading back out, but by the same token, I need to listen to my inner voice. All types of things can come in from out of left field. And so our behaviors may be different than what they're accustomed to being. And so we have to make sure we are listening to the right inner voice. And in order for me to do that, and for me, it is me going even deeper in prayer it is for me to meditate. It means to me to evaluate that inner voice, to journal, and last but not least, for me, if, interactions, or if that inner voice, another inner voice is heard or listened to or followed, it's important to apologize. That's key. That's important. Whether it's apologizing to our teens, whether it's apologizing to other family members, whatever it is, if you're listening to the right and evaluating the right inner voice, then guess what? That's what you'll want to do. That's exactly what you'll want to do. And it seems as though I've paused for just a bit, but I'm back now. That's what we'll want to do is, and if you notice I said we'll want to do that, is we'll want to evaluate the right inner voice that we're following, and we will want to, for me, be in prayer, meditate, journal, be into my daily devotionals, and then of course, apologize if anything is taking place. And it's very, very important for, of course, that to occur. That right inner voice. So evaluating the inner voice. And then secondly, I want to mention that it will be important to measure where we are, measure our relationships with ourselves, measure our relationships with other people. And you know what? This second tip, this second mindset shift has to do with those constructs such as self-awareness, social awareness, also self-management, and relationship management. Those four. To talk just a little bit about self-awareness, it is so important to know what is going on in yourself, within. If we're out of touch, and you notice I keep saying if we're out of touch with ourselves, then it's important to get support to help us to get back in tune and back in line with ourselves. And do we all have to do that at some point? We do. It's important to do that. So that self-awareness is key. And it's interesting when I think about self-awareness, because whenever we're going through something, and this is before our teens leave the home, this is after our teens leave the home, whatever it is that takes us through, or anything, even with, when your teens go off to college and they come back home, you may see some things, or you may hear some things that may, be new to you. And so guess what? When you're in tune with yourself and you're self-aware, if you can name it, whatever it is you're feeling, is it anger? Is it irritation? Is it frustration? Is it happiness? Is it joy? Is it excitement? Whatever that emotion is, if you can name it, you can tame it. And so self-awareness helps us to look inside so we can identify what is that emotion, and then we can do whatever we need to do in order to manage it. That's number one, self-awareness. And I'm talking under the umbrella of our second mindset shift, which is to measure. The second, the next subset, along with self-awareness, is then self-management. And getting the support we need before our teens leave the home, after our teens leave the home, to get whatever support we need in order to make sure that we're managing ourselves. If it seems as though we're a little unbalanced in our emotions, because things happen in life, occurrences could take place, and it could take emotions off kilter. It could unbalance your emotions. So up under the umbrella of measuring ourselves as it pertains to this transition taking place, a teen transitioning, or it could be a teen transitioning back into the home. So up under that second tip, we have self-awareness, we have self-management, and then guess what? We have social awareness as well. And that is making sure that socially we're in tune. And when we have interacted with, or when we have in a social setting, in our social, being aware of what's going on, being able to pick up clues and cues regarding what could be occurring on the outside, and being able to adjust accordingly. And then last but not least, of course, under that second tip, as it pertains to measuring where we are, where others are, it's relationship management and being able to manage relationships properly. And that is a work in progress. Are we all up under construction in that? Absolutely. We meet people all the time, and even the people that we know right here, right now, it's work. It's work in relationships. And so we have to make sure that we're in with both feet and that we're working on those relationships. And again, these are tips that can be utilized with the teen, with other people, before the teen leaves to go off, or after they have already gone off. These are general tips that are helpful in any setting at all. So again, first and foremost, evaluating that inner voice. And who is it that we're listening to? That's so key. That's so key. Secondly, measuring where we are, measuring ourselves. And then if it seems as though support is needed in order for us to stay balanced or bring us back on kilter, then make sure we get the support. Third is evolve in our actions and evolve in our thinking. This is so important because now that my two daughters are back in the home, I find myself listening, just placing myself in their shoes and listening, just to kind of hear their perspective and to understand where it is that they may be coming from. Do I always agree? Unable to say that I do all the time. However, I want to make sure that I continue practicing listening. That's very, very important. Did we really do that a whole lot when they were younger? We did, but we were limited in our thinking. They were younger, of course. We knew of what was best. And then when they become adults, then, it's good to just listen in and to just hear their thought process. Even though, they may be a quarter of your age or what have you, it's still good to lean in and to make sure, of course, that we're listening. That's so very important. And we want to do that. One of the reasons we want to do that is wherever they are in their thinking, we want to make sure that we're still able to, whether we agree or whether we disagree, we still want to make sure that we're encouraging them and inspiring them and motivating them towards critical thinking. It's good for us to share our thought process with our teens. We've been around the block just a little bit, and then our perspective. We have different perspectives, but we still can encourage them towards critical thinking because that reminds us and lets us know that they're thinking for themselves, and that is phenomenal that they're able to think for themselves and they're able to move to the point, or they're already at the point of problem solving and really being able to identify what works best for them here in this life. Because guess what? Will we always be near them? I'm unable to say that we will. So we want them to be able to make those wise, rational, logical decisions on their own. So evaluate that inner voice, measure where we are, where others are, also evolve in our actions and our thinking. And then also, I want to say that we want to remain reflective. Now, this is important because, of course, our teens, for those of us, whether our teens have transitioned out of the home or whether they're still with us, it's good for us to be reflective. I mean, we know and have known them since birth. And it's important that, and we're accustomed to their behavior. And so even some of the behavior that we may have seen in our teens, that we may have seen in our teens back when they were smaller, if we're honest with ourselves, we're seeing some of those same behaviors right here, right now. It may be on a mature level. We may see it a little more or a little less, but it's interesting because those personalities have been ingrained since the very beginning. And so what do we want to do as parents? We want to make sure that we're nurturing those personalities. And I always say that we want to, of course, make sure that we're encouraging, of course, the positive, without breaking the will, of course, encouraging. And even if it seems as though our daughters or our sons may be doing something that's a little bit out of line with what it is that we have raised them, or out of character, or the personality may be slightly different than where we would encourage them to move towards, then we want to make sure that we're inspiring them in the right way. That's so important. That's so important. So that they can still feel good about themselves, so they can still remain positive in their journey, whatever journey that is. That could be their professional journey, that could be their academic journey, that could be their social journey, lots of different journeys that our teens are on, and we want to make sure that they're, again, encouraged and inspired towards that. You know, some of your teens, they're heavy into sports and looking to get, of course, college scholarships. You know, even in that journey, we want to make sure we're encouraging in that journey as well. Even if it seems as though, you know, they may be headed in the wrong direction, as we're steering them back on the right direction, then again, we want to make sure that we're encouraging and that we're positive. That's our goal. And then next, number 5 is gratitude. Making sure that we are showing appreciation and being grateful for, of course, not only our teens, but those around us. We want to be grateful. We want to help improve the self-esteem of others. You know, when it seems as though we're unable to, or not in a place to do that, then of course we need to get support so that we can jump back on track, so we can encourage, again, motivate, inspire others. So, and then last but not least, we want to make sure that we are encouraging. That's very, very important. We want to make sure that we pause and we think about, we reflect. We talked about that just a little bit earlier. And then we want to make sure that, of course, we're making sure that we're lifting other people up so that they can be their best selves, whether it's our teens or whoever it is. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about, now those are the 6 mindset shifts that we want to pursue and we want to tweak, we want to make prior to our teen transitioning out of the home. And even if they've transitioned back in, those tips are helpful as well. So evaluate that inner voice. Who is it that we're listening to? And make sure those actions align. If they're not aligning, we need to make sure that we're getting the support we need. Whoever it is, yourself, myself, whoever it is. First and foremost, evaluate the inner voice. And then secondly, let's measure. Let's measure where we are. We can measure what's going on around us from a social perspective. And that's important. And as it has to do with our teens, then we can even help them to identify just certain scenarios and certain situations. And there are case studies that I typically do with my parents that will help teens, of course, to make good social choices and help them to evaluate themselves and also their surroundings. Also, thirdly, evolve in our actions and our thinking. And then next, remain reflective. 5th, as it pertains to gratitude, we want to be grateful. And then 6th, we want to make sure that we're encouraging. Okay? And so Before we drop off, what I'd like to do, and I know we have just a little time left, I want to talk about the different parenting styles. And so that you're able to identify, what parenting style am I? The first one is the authoritative parenting style. And that parenting style, that one gives reasonable demands and consistent limits, of course, in interacting with your child or with your teen. Also, under that umbrella of authoritative, there's the display of comfort and warmth, and the parent is listening to the teen. That's authoritative. Authoritarian is where the parent places emphasis on obedience, the parent is more strict, and then the parent tightly monitors and expresses very little warmth. So we're just examining these parental styles. The third parental style is that parent who's a friend to their teen. In a relationship such as that, the teen is in control. Anything goes. There are rare punishments, and pretty much the parents are the teen's friends. And then there's that parent where there's just a lot of uncertainty and the lines are blurred. This parent is uninvolved. This parent is neglectful. So if there's a parent-teacher conference meeting or if there's an open house, we're unable to see this parent at all. This parent is non-responsive and then has little to no demands. So when we talk about the authoritative parent, or if we talk about the authoritarian parent, or the friendship parent, or the parent that's just simply uncertain, think about where you are in that spectrum and begin to tweak, if you will, or begin to adjust and amend the parenting style. Because when your teen transitions out, and if you have any further questions about these parenting styles and which one should we gravitate towards or want to go deeper on these different styles, listen, just DM me or just text me or just message me in Facebook or Instagram or what have you, and then we can go deeper, and then I can lead you towards just what parenting style statistically has worked and why. We're running out of time, and so I'd love to go even deeper into these. But listen, we can chat one-on-one even to talk about the parenting styles. I know that you want, when your teen transitions out and off, you want them to carry with them those positive, good, encouraging, motivating traits that they've seen at home. And so it's good to know what parenting style we are, just so we can make sure that they're out. When they leave out, they're making a difference in this world because they've come with just a whole tribe of positivity. And so in a nutshell, of course, those are the tips for today. We talked about the 6 mindset shifts to make before your teen transitions out of the home. We know that those 6 mindset shifts are to evaluate the inner voice, to measure, to evolve in our actions, and our thinking, to remain reflective, to be grateful, and to encourage. Do all of us have work to do on this? We do. We also talked about the 4 different parenting styles. If you'd like to know more and go deeper in those, please let me know. Next week, or better yet, let me share this weekend, my oldest daughter will be joining us. And so when we talk about these different mindset shifts, I think it will be important for you to hear from her. The last Masterclass, she talked about different discussion topics. She will discuss other discussion topics that will be helpful for you to hear, because she has spent most recently, of course, in our family, most recently the time on the college campus. And so we'll want to hear from her. And there'll be an opportunity also for you to ask questions. And I want that to take place just so that you are clear. Because guess what? When I was in undergrad or grad school or even, pursuing my doctoral studies, especially undergrad and grad, that was years ago. Things have changed. Am I the one to ask those questions about here and now? I think we ought to lean on someone who, of course, has just come off of the college campus. So nonetheless, thank you so very much for joining. I appreciate you. Love you all. I see you on Instagram and also in the Facebook group. And I'll see you on tomorrow, day 3, where we will discuss secrets to encouraging your teen to make good social choices. That will be our topic on tomorrow. I'll see you then. Thank you. Take care. Bye.